Long-lost soups from the 1980s were more than just meals. They were comfort, care, and healing in a bowl. When you were sick, tired, or home from school, Grandma didn't ask many questions. She went straight to the kitchen. In the 80s, soup was medicine. Grandmas believed warmth healed the body, and broth healed the soul. These soups weren't fancy, but they worked every time. Chicken soup was the most trusted remedy. Made slowly with bones, onions, carrots, and celery, it filled the house with a smell that meant rest was coming. Grandma never rushed it. She believed slow cooking made it stronger. Clear broths were common when sickness was serious. Light, salty, and warm, they were easy to sip even when you had no appetite. Grandma would insist on just a few spoonfuls. Vegetable soups were built from whatever was available. Potatoes, carrots, cabbage, and beans created filling meals that didn't overwhelm a sick stomach. Noodle soups were especially popular with children. Soft noodles were comforting and easy to eat. Grandma often broke spaghetti by hand when egg noodles weren't available. Beef broth soups were used when strength was needed. Grandma believed red meat broth helped you get your energy back. Tomato-based soups appeared when colds lingered. Warm, smooth, and slightly sweet, they were served with toast or crackers. Rice soups were made when digestion was weak. Simple, mild, and gentle, they were trusted during fevers. Onion soup was another forgotten remedy. Grandma believed onions pulled sickness from the body. The soup was strong-smelling but deeply warming. Garlic-heavy broths were common too. Garlic was considered nature's medicine long before supplements existed. Soups were seasoned lightly. Grandma avoided heavy spices when you were sick. Salt, pepper, and sometimes bay leaves were enough. Leftover soups were reheated carefully. Grandma believed reheating slowly kept the soup alive. Every family had its version. No two soups were exactly the same, but the purpose was always care. Grandma never measured ingredients. She cooked by instinct, taste, and experience. Soup was served in small bowls first. She watched closely to see how you reacted. Second servings were encouraged quietly. Soup time meant rest. TV was low. Curtains were drawn. Grandma believed healing required calm. Crackers were placed on the side, never forced. Bread was dipped slowly into broth. Soup wasn't just food. It was attention. Even the way Grandma stirred the pot felt deliberate. She tasted often, adjusting gently. These soups disappeared as kitchens modernized. Canned soups replaced slow cooking. But the healing felt different. The 80s. Soups carried memory. They carried patience. They carried love. When you remember being sick as a child, you don't remember medicine first. You remember the soup, the smell, the warmth, the bowl placed gently in your hands. These long-lost soups weren't written down. They were remembered. And that's why they mattered. In the 1980s, soups made by grandmas followed a rhythm that felt instinctive. When someone in the house fell sick, the stove became the center of attention. Soup was not optional, it was essential. Grandma believed different illnesses needed different soups. A cold required something light and clear, while exhaustion demanded a heartier broth. Chicken bone soup was prepared using leftover bones saved specifically for times of sickness. Nothing was wasted. The bones were simmered for hours to draw out strength. Vegetable-heavy soups were common when fever was present. Cabbage, carrots, and potatoes were believed to cool the body while keeping it nourished. Potato soup was often served mashed and thin. Grandma made it smooth, so it went down easily. Noodle soups were carefully portioned. Too much pasta was believed to slow recovery. Egg drop-style soups appeared when protein was needed without heaviness. Eggs were stirred gently into hot broth. Rice-based soups were favored for upset stomachs. Plain, salty, and calming, they helped restore balance. Tomato soup was trusted when appetite returned. Its mild acidity woke up the senses. Garlic broth was a powerful remedy. Grandma believed garlic chased illness away. Onion soups were often served at night. Their warmth was believed to help sleep. Soups were eaten slowly. Grandma insisted on resting between spoonfuls. There were no distractions. Eating soup was part of healing. Grandma stayed nearby, watching quietly. Soup pots were kept warm for hours. Second servings were always available. Seasoning remained gentle. Strong flavors were avoided. Herbs like bay leaf and parsley were added sparingly. Leftover soup was reheated slowly, never boiled harshly. Grandma believed aggressive heat ruined healing. Crackers and dry toast were offered alongside soup. Milk was avoided during sickness. Soup and water were preferred. Soup bowls were smaller when illness was serious. Grandma trusted her intuition more than instructions. She adjusted soups based on your color, appetite, and mood. Some soups were prepared overnight and served the next day. These soups were not documented. They existed only in memory. Each grandma had her own version. They disappeared as families changed. Convenience replaced patience. But the care was different. The soups of the 80s carried more than nutrients. They carried reassurance. They told you that you were safe, that someone was watching over you, that rest was allowed. These soups were served quietly. No praise was expected. They did their job silently. Years later, people search for those flavors, but they can't be fully recreated because they were made with attention, with presence, with love. And that's why they were remembered. During the 1980s, Grandma's sick day soups followed unwritten rules. These rules were learned through experience, not books. Every movement in the kitchen had meaning. Grandma believed soup should never shock the body. It had to be warm, not hot. She would test it carefully before serving. Clear soups were often the first step. When strength returned, thicker soups followed. Healing was gradual, and soup reflected that pace. Barley soups were popular in many homes. Barley was believed to strengthen the body without being harsh. Lentil soups appeared when illness lingered. Thick, nourishing, and slow-cooked, they were meant to rebuild energy. Cabbage soup was common when cold spread through the house. Grandma believed cabbage cleaned the system. Carrot soups were lightly sweet and gentle. They were served when appetite was weak. Potato and leek soup was blended until smooth. It was comforting and easy to swallow. Chicken and rice soup was a trusted middle stage. Not too heavy, not too light. Soups were cooked quietly. Loud boiling was avoided. Grandma skimmed the surface carefully, removing anything unwanted. She believed clarity meant purity. Salt was added slowly. Too much salt was considered harmful when sick. Pepper was used rarely. Sometimes a splash of vinegar was added to awaken taste. Grandma tasted soup frequently, adjusting as needed. Soup pot stayed on the stove for most of the day. If you slept, the soup waited. Serving soup was gentle. Bowls were placed slowly. Grandma watched to see if you finished. If you didn't, she said nothing. Soup time meant comfort, not pressure. Tea often followed soup, warm, mild, and calming. Blankets were adjusted. Windows were cracked slightly for fresh air. Grandma believed fresh air helped healing. Soup was paired with rest. Stories were told quietly. Silence was respected. Soup was medicine, but also ritual. Each bowl carried reassurance. Even when you didn't feel better immediately, you felt cared for. These soups weren't about speed. They were about patience. Modern kitchens moved faster. Microwaves replaced simmering, but something was lost. The soups of the 80s carried presence. They were made while watching, listening, caring. They were never rushed. They didn't come from cans. They came from memory, from instinct, from love. That's why they worked, and that's why they're missed. By the middle of the 1980s, Grandma's sick day soups had become traditions of care. They were prepared without discussion, almost automatically, the moment illness appeared. Soup was the answer before the question was asked. Grandma believed timing mattered. Soup was served when the body was ready, not according to the clock. Hunger signs were watched closely. Some soups were made thin intentionally. Grandma knew heavy meals slowed recovery. Thin broths allowed the body to focus on healing. Herbal additions were subtle. Parsley, bay leaf, and sometimes thyme were added quietly. Nothing overpowering. Chicken skin and excess fat were skimmed carefully. Clean broth was considered essential. Beef-based soups were used sparingly. They were reserved for times when strength was truly needed. Fish soups appeared in coastal families. Light, salty, and warming. They were believed to restore balance. Bread soaked in broth was often easier to eat than solid food. Grandma encouraged sipping, not eating quickly. Soup bowls were warmed before serving. Cold dishes were avoided completely. Even spoons were chosen carefully. Smaller spoons slowed eating. Grandma remained nearby while soup was eaten. She listened to breathing and watched posture. If coughing increased, she adjusted the recipe next time. Every reaction mattered. Soup recipes changed slightly with age and experience. Grandma learned from each illness. The long-lost soups of the 1980s remain unforgettable because they were never just about curing sickness. They were about presence, patience, and protection. Grandma's kitchen became a quiet place of healing. By the time soup was served, the work had already begun hours earlier. Ingredients were chosen carefully, washed slowly, and handled with care. Nothing was rushed. Grandma trusted experience over instructions. She knew when a soup needed more time simply by smelling it. The aroma told her when it was ready. Soup was adjusted constantly. If illness changed, the soup changed too. There was no single recipe that worked for everyone. Clear broths were used first, then gradually enriched as strength returned. Healing was a journey, and soup followed each step. Salt was added carefully. Too little made soup useless. Too much made it harsh. Grandma balanced it perfectly. Water quality mattered. Fresh water made better broth. Old water was avoided. Bones were cracked intentionally to release nutrients. Grandma learned this from her own elders. Vegetables were cut larger for flavor, smaller for digestion, depending on who was sick. Soup was never served alone. Care surrounded it. Lights were dimmed. Voices were lowered. Time slowed down. Grandma believed calm helped the body accept nourishment. If soup was refused, it was not forced. Grandma waited patiently. Later, she tried again. Soup was not punishment. It was comfort. Illness was treated with kindness. Even when medicine entered the picture, soup remained essential. Doctors came and went. Soup stayed. These soups disappeared as families became busier.